He's the man, he's the myth, he's the legend, he's the scientist with all the answers and all the questions. It's time for another episode of Alex's Science Corner.
Thank you. Oh, please.
All right, what's going on in the wide world of science, my friend?
All right, one story for today. I'll read the headline, and then I'll explain it. NASA research reveals Saturn is losing its rings at a worst-case scenario rate. So what's happening is the Saturn's rings are mostly made up of ice, blocks, pieces of ice. This rain of ice, some of the particles just fall through gravity back down to Saturn. But there's another way that these rings are getting drained of ice. What's happening is the ultraviolet light from the sun, when it hits the rings, some of these ice particles get charged. And so they then start flowing along Saturn's magnetic fields and start entering Saturn or get dragged into Saturn through the magnetic fields, not just through the gravity. Because if it was just gravity, the rings would fall apart, but it's also, there's small moons that keep the rings flowing and orbiting around in their ring shape. Now, because of these things, NASA has kind of figured out that the rings are relatively new for Saturn, that they're 100 million years or younger that the rings formed. And with this worst-case scenario rate, Saturn is NASA is expecting that it's going to take only 300 million years for part of the rings to disappear. So that's, buy your tickets.
Give me that figure.
300 million years,
okay.
and then the inner ring of Saturn is going to disappear.
And how many, just again repeat, how many rings are there around Saturn?
The early counting was there's 3 when you had like basic telescopes, when it was just like Galileo doing the counting. Now they count like about 100 different rings.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because it's like a phonograph record. The closer you go, what happens is bigger lumps of ice start forming these little bands. And you can't see them unless you get real close. And that's why you got the Galileo space probe, or the Cassini, my apologies, the Cassini space probe was the one that
identified the multiple.
Right, it showed the pictures. When they were taking the pictures, it would see these mini rings in it.
Breaks in them. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so before then, you had what was known as the Cassini division, but you had like 3, maybe 4 large rings, and then each of those rings has a lot of really
made
tiny
up
subrings.
of many. Okay.
Correct. So again, the amount of ice that's falling out of the rings is the equivalent of an Olympic-sized swimming pool every half hour.
That's a lot of water. That's a lot of water.
Every half hour, yeah.
Every half hour. That's
Yes.
a lot of water.
Yeah. But when we're talking about this stuff, scales are, compared to us, the scales are massive. Compared to
the size of Saturn,
the size of Saturn, it's going to take 300 million years for that ring to disappear.
Okay. Now, global warming, people, see, it's affecting Saturn.
It has nothing to do with Saturn.
Yes, it does. It's global warming. What's your next story?
It's one of the joys here is that it's these moments that I get that are speechless. That
Bobby?
Brian did ask me to keep this short, so I'm instead of
so
a
what's your
second
second one?
story.
No, do the second
we're
story.
just doing one.
No, but I'm going to give my Christmas presents right now.
Okay, but I think the headline made it sound more exciting. Than
Oh,
of course it did.
Yeah,
They're disappearing,
yeah.
and then you read the fine print in 300 million years.
Yeah, right. Right.
That's one of the things. Whenever
That's
I read
why.
a headline from NASA, I know it's like, oh, you're a science person who's been studying this thing for years. I know you're excited about it, but you gotta ask somebody else.
But I think when they look at it in terms of age of the universe and age of the galaxy and all that other stuff, that
I mean, relatively speaking, it's very, very
little
quick.
short time. Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give my Christmas presents right now. I don't know if you want to announce it over the air.
Wow.
The Skeptics Guide to
Thank
the
you.
Universe.
It's a
How
book.
to know what's really real in a world increasingly full of fake.
Thank you. I get
That
I
was
didn't-
sweet.
I
Thank
didn't,
you.
Yeah, I didn't get
Yeah,
you guys
It's
anything.
it's a beginner's guide on how to think critically.
Very good.
Thank you.
Something we
So,
need.
yeah.
Definitely. Personally and
I didn't want to say it out loud. That's why I gave the book.
thank you. All right.
I know the author, and one of his brothers, who's also like one of the researchers for the book, is a friend of mine. So
And we got Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye writing on the back here. So
Ooh.
very nice. Praise. All right. Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you. That was really nice.
Hey, if you have any questions about this story or anything else science related, feel free to call Alex right now at 203
837
99.
24.